Alright, so I'm going to go through and work through these problems, and what I would recommend doing is pausing this right now if you haven't completed it, try it on your own, and then come on back and you can listen to me explain them. But the main thing for here, guys, I'm going to give you the formula, so don't freak out. The main thing is just plugging and chugging, and so I'm going to write out the formulas really quickly so we have them in front of us. The temperature in Celsius, this is the first relationship, equals the temperature in Fahrenheit minus 32. And then I'm going to divide this by 1.8. The other relationship that we also have is the fact that Kelvin, so the temperature in Kelvin, equals the temperature in Celsius plus 273. Now, the pain in the butt is if I give you, let's say, Kelvin, and then ask you to find Fahrenheit, because you know the relationship between Kelvin and Celsius, and you know the relationship between Fahrenheit and Celsius, but you don't know the relationship between Kelvin and Fahrenheit. Well, in a two-step problem, you can totally figure that out, and we'll do that in number 3 and in number 4. So I'm going to start off with number 1. I give you degrees Fahrenheit, so you're just going to plug it into this equation. So it's going to be TC, because that's what I'm trying to solve for, equals 218 minus 32 divided by 1.8. Now, remember, when I'm solving for this, I'm going to do 218 minus 32, divide that by 1.8, and what I get is 103.33333. Now, before I do anything, sig figs and units. So I'm going to first do units. So my units are going to be degrees Celsius. So please don't just write TC equals 103 and be done. You need to put degrees Celsius. And now I need to figure out sig figs or rounding. Now, since the last step I did was dividing, I'm going to need 2 sig figs because the 1.8 right here has 2 sig figs. Now, if you look at this, at first you might say, oh, well, that's impossible. You can't round this so it has 2 sig figs, because you can round it to 100 point and it'll have 3 sig figs, or you can round it to just 100 and it'll have 1, but how in the world would you round it to 2? Now, on a quiz or test, I probably wouldn't give you this problem because it's kind of mean, but on a practice, it helps you to review your scientific notation. 103 is the same thing as saying 1.033 times 10 to the second, because I moved my decimal place over 2 places. Now that it's in scientific notation, it's super easy to make this 2 sig figs. It would just be 1.0 times 10 to the second. And my units are going to be degrees Celsius. And now I'm done. Okay. For the next one, I give you 25 degrees Celsius, so I'm going to put 25 here, and I'm going to set that equal to TF minus 32, and then all over 1.8. Now the important thing for you to do, we're first going to multiply both sides by 1.8, or just cross multiply. And so you get 25 times 1.8, which is 45. So 45 equals your TF minus 32. Now, in order to get TF by itself, I'm going to have to add 32 to both sides, and I get 77. If you notice, the last step you're doing is addition, so I'm going to base my rounding off of decimal places. Well, 45 has no decimal places, 32 has no decimal places, therefore my final answer, since the fewest number of decimal places is 0, is going to be 0 decimal places. So I've got 77, and my units are degrees Fahrenheit. So units and sig figs, or rounding in general, are the 2 things you always need to worry about in these problems. And what I just realized is I converted to Fahrenheit when I was supposed to be rounding to Kelvin. So there was a really nice explanation, but now I have to convert to Kelvin, which is actually much easier than that. So I'm going to do that over here. I've got T Kelvin equals, I've got 25 degrees Celsius, so I'm going to put that here, plus 273. And so when I add it, I just get, again, it's based off of the fewest number of decimal places, so it's just going to be 298. And my units are Kelvin. And we call it a day. So now you know how many degrees Fahrenheit and how many Kelvin there are in 25 degrees Celsius. So you're welcome. All right, next one. This is going to be a two-stepper, kind of a pain, but it's okay. We're going to do it together. So to get from Kelvin to Fahrenheit, I first have to go to Celsius. So I'm going to put 77 here equals Celsius plus 273. So the first thing I have to do is subtract both sides by 273. So 77 minus 273, I get negative 196. So my TC equals negative 196. Okay, degrees Celsius. Then I need to get into Fahrenheit. So I'm going to plug it into this formula right here. So I've got negative 196 equals TF minus 32 divided by the 1.8. So the first thing I want to do, multiply the 196, negative 196 by 1.8. And I get negative 352.8. So again, remember, don't round until the very end. So I'm going to keep it unrounded, it's fine. Equals TF minus 32. And then you're going to add to both sides, you're going to add 32 to get rid of this 32. So add 32 to this side, add 32 to this side. And when I do that, I get negative, that TF equals negative 320.8. Now, as I'm writing this, think about what the last step I did was, and that was addition. So, I'm going to base, when I round this final answer, I need to base it off of the fewest number of decimal places. Well, 32 has no decimal places, so this is going to round to negative 321, so that it will have no decimal places. And we're good to go. Next one. Now I'm going from Fahrenheit to Kelvin, so I'm first going to have to get into Celsius again, and then I can get into Kelvin. So 98.6, so TC, because I'm trying to solve for Celsius, equals 98.6 minus 32. And then I'm going to put that all over 1.8. Okay. And so what I get when I do that, 98.6 minus 32, and then I divide that by 1.8, I get 37. So TC equals 37 degrees centigrade. Notice even in not my final answer, I'm including units. Okay, so please include units as much as possible. Now I'm going to get into Fahrenheit, or sorry, I was in Fahrenheit, now I'm going to get into Kelvin. So to get into Kelvin, TK, my temperature in Kelvin, equals my temperature in Celsius, which is 37, plus 273. Now, since my final step is going to be addition, I need to take my answer, which is 310, and make sure it's rounded correctly. Well, since I'm adding, I'm basing it off of decimal places, and 310 has no decimal places, which it should. So my answer, 310 Kelvin, not degrees Kelvin, just Kelvin, is my final answer. Okay, so let me know if you have any issues with these, but otherwise that's it.